Okay, we are now recording. V, can you please put the presentation up?
The presentation is up.
We can't see it, B.
Okay.
If you could reshare your screen.
I am doing it now. Can you see it now?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Grant Sharp. I'm going to be filling in for Amanda Carr this afternoon as the executive officer. So before the meeting is called to order, I just want to let everyone know. Next slide, please, B. I'll just real quickly cover the one more slide, please, B. I'll cover the, yeah, thank you very much. So welcome everyone to the South Orange County Watershed Management Area Executive Committee. As a result of the COVID-19 emergency and pursuant to the provisions of Governor Newsom's executive orders N2920 and N3320, this meeting is being held via webinar and teleconference only, and it is being recorded. And with that, Chair Neve, it is all yours to call the meeting to order and go through the agenda.
Okay, thank you. I will now call the meeting to order, and I would ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Now, Grant's gone over most of the technical components, but if any of you are having some problems, please feel free to email Maria or Dan, and they'll give you some technical assistance. And I want to remind the public that, again, the participation link is ocpublicworks.com/SOCWMA. Or if you're on a call in, it's 1-415-655-0001. And the access code is 133-601-1086. So with that, and as far as attendance, Grant had mentioned it. He's going to go through the participant list, and we'd ask you to please unmute yourself. He'll call the agency. You can unmute yourself and acknowledge your presence. So with that, Grant.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Neve. I'm just going to, there we go. All right, great. I'm just going to go through, do a roll call, taking it from the top left of the agenda staff report, starting with Laguna Beach County Water District.
Here.
All right, we've got, and next up, Santa Margherita Water District.
Here.
And thank you, committee member Jacobs. If you could also, when I announce the agency or city, if you could announce your name We may have some new committee members joining us today and others who are representing their regular executive committee members.
Thank you. Sandra Jacobs, Santa Margherita Water District.
Thank you very much, committee member Jacobs. Next up, City of Laguna Niguel. Okay, we'll move on next. Next up, City of Dana Point.
Paul Wyatt, council member, City of Dana Point here.
El Toro Water District.
Kay Havens, El Toro Water District is present.
Irvine Ranch Water District. City of Laguna Beach. City of Laguna Hills.
Laguna Hills, present, Erica Paisold.
Great. City of Laguna Woods.
Carol Moore present.
City of Mission Viejo.
Brian Goodell is present.
City of Lake Forest. City of Aliso Viejo.
Good afternoon, Tiffany Ackley for the City of Aliso Viejo.
Thank you, Vice Chair Ackley. Molten Eagle Water District.
Here, William Moorhead.
Municipal Water District of Orange County.
I'm sorry.
Municipal Water District of Orange County, MODOC. Next, County of Orange. City of Rancho Santa Margarita. City of San Clemente. San Juan Basin Authority.
Norris Brandt, Administrator, sitting in for Councilman Derek Reeve.
South Coast Water District. South Orange County Wastewater Authority. I'm sorry, I may have, sounded like there was a response there.
I'm here, Grant. Betty Burnett for Saukwa.
Oh, thank you, Committee Member Burnett. Trabuco Canyon Water District.
Ed Mandich is here.
And City of San Juan Capistrano.
Jack Finn is here if you can hear me.
Hear you loud and clear,
Yeah.
Committee Member Hunt.
You did hear me?
Yes.
Sir. Loud and
I don't
clear.
know. This stupid thing won't unmute, so I don't know what to do.
You're coming in loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's okay. Before I move on and introduce county staff who are present, has anyone joined since we began the roll call? Anyone that did not hear either their agency or their city called out during the roll call?
Grant, I'm not sure if you were able to hear me because I had to call in using my phone. This is Megan Yu Schneider with MODOC.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Committee Member Schneider. We will make sure record your presence here for the meeting. Thank you.
Grant, I can't hear you very well. Is there?
Okay, is anyone else having, Committee Member Moorhead's having trouble hearing? Anyone else having trouble with the audio?
Yeah, Grant, it's not that it's bad. It's just that I think you need to be closer to your computer.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for letting me know that.
Also, I wonder if some people were muted. Is that possible that they did respond? Because I did see their names and yet I heard no response. And sometimes people don't realize they have to mute and unmute in addition to the master mute. If that's helpful, I don't know. Just a point of.
I didn't know there was a master mute.
Well, that's the meeting. The meeting person can handle that too.
I think part of the confusion is you don't know where black is muted or red is muted.
Oh, on this, the black means you're unmuted.
It's the word.
Little
And that you
microphone
can
that's either
use,
red or black. I don't know which is I want.
keep in mind that you can use the space bar to mute and unmute as well.
And Jack, I know if you have that little microphone, when the microphone is red, that means you are muted.
I finally figured that out, but it took me a while.
Okay.
Maria knows I'm very slow on these things.
Oh, come on. Okay. Okay. Okay, well, I think that I'm just a little concerned that there may be some individuals that were on mute. So to be sure that we have the proper attendance recorded, if everyone could just send an email after the meeting, just to say that you were in attendance so we can get the proper attendee list. I think that that would be helpful for staff. So with that, I think we'll go on to the next slide, Beatrice. Thank you. And that's
Could they also do that in the question thing by just typing "I'm present" in the question?
They certainly could. Yes, they certainly could. Thank you, Carol. That would be great. We're going to move on to public comments, and I know that in the directions they said that you could basically, a couple people had emailed me asking about the Q&A box, and as you can see here, we've provided this slide to show you that just like with Zoom, you can also raise your hand if you have a question. So at this point, I will ask, does anyone have a question or anything at all that's not on the agenda?
We did not receive any through email. So unless someone in the public at this time has any questions, we don't have any.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
I believe my question that I had asked via email is going to be addressed later, even though it's not specifically on the agenda. So thank you.
Yes, that's what I understand. Thank you. And I see Brad McGear's hand is raised. Dan, are you monitoring this?
Yes, they have to find the computer.
Okay. He's been unmuted already.
Okay. Okay.
Now
so,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. 10 minutes of trying. Thank you very much.
Success.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
No, I just was writing in saying that I cannot be unmuted here. Somebody had muted me.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so you're there. Fantastic. Okay, so I don't see any hands raised. And if individuals are calling in, it takes there's about a 30-minute delay. So I mean, 30-second delay. So I think that it's, we've pretty much reached that time as well. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Which brings us to the approval of minutes. And the way we're going to handle approval of minutes, first we'll ask if anyone has anything to discuss regarding the February 6th minutes. And then we will move for approval, and I will ask someone to unmute for the motion. I'll ask someone then to also unmute and second it so that we can get the names. And then following that, we will assume that everyone has answered in the positive, or yay, affirmative, unless you do want to raise a no. At that point, please raise your hand, and so that we can record any no or abstentions. So, does anyone have any questions regarding the minutes of February 6th?
Should I
see,
my
I
hand
see
like
Sandra. I can see your hand, Sandra. You can go ahead.
How about like that?
Yes, both. Good for you.
Just
ahead.
in clarification, thank you, Sandra Jacobs, Santa Margarita Water District. On the minutes on item 7, if you could just clarify in the minutes who's round, who are the members of the round table that are mentioned, that would clarify. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. You were staff. Sandra was breaking up. Did you get that, Grant?
Was I breaking up?
Yes, I didn't understand your question.
Item 7 of the minutes references a group called the Round Table, and I didn't know who that was, so I thought in approval of these minutes, they could indicate who's at that round table.
Who's at that round table? That's a great question. I will be abstaining from the February minutes. I did not attend that meeting. Grant, can you answer that question? Or Tiffany, if you were there?
Debbie, it's Betty. I think that was Jenna's item that she spoke to, as I recall, so she might have the best answer on that.
Jenna's home with a brand new baby boy, but Grant, Grant, are you still with us?
You know what? It's not enough to amend the minutes for Madam Chair, so I'm ready to move the item.
Well, the other thing, Tiffany, I know Tiffany, you chaired that meeting. Do you recall any discussion regarding that?
Yeah, I don't have any specific recollection at this time. But
Okay. Thank you, Tiffany.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Madam Chair, Andy McGuire, County of Orange. The round table refers to the round table of regions.
Okay.
It's a group of all regions coordinate together for collaborative purposes.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of background noise. If you're not speaking, can I ask you please to mute yourselves? That'd be great. And could you repeat yourself, because I don't think anyone else heard you as well.
Yes, so the round table in the minutes refers to the round table of regions, which is a sort of a governance body of IRWM regions that come together and try to put forward, IRWM, I guess, tasks or IRWM issues, try to get that to the front of the state's agenda, I guess. Yeah, so it's something that Jenna participates in. Yes.
Oh, right. I think she had referred to that in prior meetings too. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Not a problem.
And
I have. This is Brian Goodell, Mission Vale. I have a comment on the minutes.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
I don't know if it got corrected or not, because I sent that to, is it Tina or Maria?
I did. I received it, and that has been corrected.
Okay.
So
Okay. Just so you guys know. So, okay, good. So you guys know that. So I have replaced Trish Kelly. I'm the mayor of Mission View. I replaced Trish Kelly. So it had me down as representing her or attending in her place. And it's, no, I've replaced her on the committee. So that's all I was asking her to correct.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, we've received a motion from Sandra Jacobs. Do I have a second?
Laguna Hill second.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor, and we will not do a roll call vote. I'm going to assume everyone is answering in the affirmative. I am abstaining. I was not at that meeting. And is there anyone else that would, anyone else abstain? Or
This is Megan U. Schneider. I am abstaining as well. For some reason, it's not letting me respond to the chat function. So just wanted to give a heads up.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Okay, so Megan abstaining as well. And I'm seeing a hand raised by the mayor. So I guess, and since you're not replacing Mr. Mayor Goodall, I guess you are abstaining. Is that correct? No, it's not. He has a comment.
No, my hand was raised before to talk about what I already talked
just
about.
to talk about that. Okay, if you could unraise your hand then.
Yeah, I am not abstaining, and I'll tell you what the way we're doing this is we're saying by acclamation unless there's any objection. So if anyone objects, they can weigh in. Otherwise, it's approved.
Correct. Thank you. Okay, I see a hand raised by Norris Brandt. And I see a hand raised by Fran McGear. Okay,
This is Norris
Norris,
Brandt.
you first.
I'm
Yes.
abstaining as well. I was not able to attend last time.
Thank you. And Brad McGear.
Who's left?
No, I don't have a hand raised.
Okay, it's showing a hand raised, so maybe, okay. All right, then if that's it, we can move. And we can move the minutes are approved. And we will move to item number 4. Okay, and item number 4, we have a presentation on urban drool tool. I love it, love it, love it. Integrating water usage data with watershed data to engage the community and using water wisely. So Drew Atwater and Laura Rush is going to present this, and from Moulton Niguel Water District. And so I think we have you teed up, guys. So I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Perfect. Thanks so much. This is really an exciting project, and thank you, Chair New, for teeing it up. This actually was been a few years in the making. It actually started a little over 3 years ago as a collaboration between some of the county staff, some local cities, the Moulton Niguel Water District, and several environmental groups. And it initially started with a presentation at the Water Data Symposium hosted each year by the State Water Resources Control Board as a concept, and has really grown from there and built a really exciting partnership that we're really hoping we can share the ideas that came from this and really build on it. It's an exciting opportunity to reduce urban runoff, protect our local creeks and the ocean, through educating the public about reducing urban runoff. The next slide. So when we look at urban runoff and urban drool, and the tool we've created is called the drool tool. So a little catchy name for it, but it's built around trying to educate the public about what urban drool is and how you can take actions to reduce it. So starting from what it is, it's unnatural, typically like overwatering from water users, applying more water than a site needs, and then it starts to run off into the gutter and then to local creeks and then the ocean, and it carries pesticides, herbicides, all sorts of stuff that people apply on their landscape. And as this group is well aware, one strategy is to build BMPs and do actions, which are great. But one often cheaper option is just to educate the public about water efficiency actions. And so that's just really focused on efforts to educate the public that can, through collaboration, help to overall reduce the costs to the community to help improve the environmental quality. Next slide. So when we look at watersheds locally, you see in the red line is the boundary for Molten Miguel Water District, and we have the largest surface area for the Aliso Creek watershed. So we've initially started in that watershed, but any of the lessons and collaborations and efforts could easily be shared across and be applied to other areas as well. And next slide. And so part of what helped to create this overall effort is early in 2018, a group of cities in Molten Miguel service area, the County of Orange, and then two environmental groups, the Orange County Coastkeeper and Laguna Blue Belt, all signed an MOU, just basically committing to work collaboratively to take the types of outreach and education and efforts in water efficiency and work together to find ways where we can align messages and help to echo and build up each other's messages, reinforce those messages to the public. And overall, each entity applies these from different perspectives, and having this discussion and a collaboration has helped to really build up a lot of different outreach over the years. And we meet about every 2 to 3 months and basically just get some alignment on what each of us are thinking in terms of events that we have, in terms of different collateral that we're sending out to the public. And we've seen a lot of benefits to that because it helps to align if we have 2 events that are similar in terms of message, or if we and oftentimes we have similar goals coming out from different perspectives, and so it helps to build that collaboration. And overall, we've seen a lot of benefits to this, and we've actually received some awards. This effort led to the Governor's Economic and Environmental Leadership Award for helping to improve local creek health and help the watershed. So been a tremendous effort towards alignment of outreach. Next slide. And so what this tool at a high level, I'm going to turn it over to Laura Rocha in a few minutes. But what at a high level, what this tool does is take data that's been anonymized and aggregated up to a neighborhood level for water usage, and combine it with data that the county has to educate the public about the multiple benefits and impacts to having urban runoff carry these pollutants into the local watershed. So typically we'd each apply the data and information that we each have, and through this partnership, we've been able to share data, combine the data, and build information that's actionable that helps provide multiple benefits. And we think, and it just launched, but we're hopeful that it'll help increase awareness from the public, help educate about the benefits, and also provide direct actions and calls to action for the public as they're learning about this issue. And so there's a lot of great benefits, and we're really excited to see how this goes. Next slide. The last slide I have as part of this, one other area that will only further to improve this is that we also have another collaboration with the county and our local watershed partners, looking at taking the AMI or smart meter network we have and connecting flow sensors throughout the watershed that are far cheaper than would be able to be procured through traditional means, and connecting them and providing 15-minute interval data across 60 sites in the Aliso Creek watershed to provide a real-time picture of flows, and it'll help us better understand these urban rural piece of it, but also what's natural, and help combine with the existing county data and some of the water use data to really provide a much better picture of the water balance in Aliso Creek, and only further improve the value of these educational materials to educate the public to take action and really see which areas would benefit the most from education and providing those kinds of calls to action with some of the rebates and workshops and other opportunities that we as the water utility provide. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Laura, who's going to talk a bit about the actual tool itself.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Laura.
Okay. Sorry, I was having a little bit of technical difficulties there, so I'm glad it's coming through. Thanks, Drew. So now I'm going to get into the specifics of the web app itself and talk to you guys a little bit about the data sources that are feeding into the tool. And then towards the end, we're going to share a little video demo that kind of walks you through the website and shows you what it looks like and how it works. So next slide, please. And go ahead and click it one more time, please. Perfect. So the public education side of this tool, the thought process for the tool was to basically build on the available data from the county as well as the district and distill some metrics from those data that are actionable and make sense to the public. And then also to build a message around those metrics that are then fed into the tool so that the public can access it in a meaningful way. And so the goal of the tool, as Drew mentioned, was to basically inform the public about the impact of overwatering on urban rural and how they can get involved to kind of help that situation or improve that situation in the watershed. And so ultimately, we are targeting community members as well as customers and watershed learners. And so we're looking to provide data in a public forum that also respects the privacy of the individual customer usage data. And because the app is continually updated with new data, thankfully our consultant team was able to build the tool in a way that seamlessly integrated the data that basically wouldn't require a lot of staff time to be able to keep the data fresh and up to date. Next slide. So we're going to go over the data sets that feed into the tool. So the first data set is the water usage data that the district has available to us. And so the district's water usage data is based on basically customers' usage of the water, but the district has a budget-based rate structure that provides a personalized water budget for every customer. And that personalized water budget takes into consideration the number of persons that are in each household, the home's irrigated or landscape area, as well as monthly precipitation and evapotranspiration rates. And so this data really helps to provide the backbone for understanding water usage that generates drool. Next slide. The other information that's fed into the tool is rebate participation. So the district tracks rebate participation in a number of rebate programs from both our programs as well as MODOC's programs. So pretty much we know how many people are participating in rebate programs and in what neighborhoods those are occurring in. Next slide. This is where we were able to integrate some of the county's data. That they have a lot of great data specifically related to the watershed. And so the county has a network of regional subdrains that describe how water flows through the watershed. So for this tool, these subbasins were reframed as neighborhoods. And so it really connects people with their neighborhood as to where they are in the watershed. Next slide. We were also able to utilize the county as well as the city's data on storm drain network. And so this is an important part of the tool because it really provides the pathway that runoff takes from households to the ocean. So adding this storm drain network feature allowed for the tool to have a tracing tool that we'll see in a little bit that really communicates the urban rules path from a specific home all the way to the waterway and out to the ocean. Next slide. And lastly, we were able to use the county's outfall flow monitoring data. So this data has been collected over a period of time in the watershed and several outfalls throughout our service area. So this data really helps us understand where urban drool is generally coming from. Next slide. So our focus on the app was for simple metrics and messages to really highlight a few key takeaways for folks using this tool. And so we really wanted to communicate seasonal trends, communicating how water use fluctuates throughout the year, and when folks should start to think about turning down their irrigation systems as fall approaches. And we also wanted to convey long-term trends, so people can really kind of see how their water usage is doing from year over year. Are they improving? Are they not improving? And then also provide some context for even though we're not in a drought, should we still be thinking about water use efficiency and what that looks like from the urban watershed perspective. Next slide. So bringing it all together, the county and Molten were supported by Geosyntec and Sitka Technologies to create this open source web app. While it is a lot of maps and data, we wanted it to be more than just maps and data, because you can get that in a lot of places. So we wanted to limit it to a few messages that would really resonate with the audience. And so on the tool, we've linked the district's social media campaign with the messages being delivered by the app that have proven in the past to help people really take action. And the goal of the tool is really to provide a how can I help approach to inspire people to want to improve the watershed, to act to improve the watershed. Next slide. And we want to take this time to thank the core team that have really helped make this tool a reality. So several different folks from both the county as well as Molten have contributed to developing this app. So folks at the county include Grant, Amanda, Andy, and Jenna. And at Molten we have Monavina, Genevieve, and Drew have all really driven the tool to become a reality and have been instrumental in making sure that this tool was launched. And then, of course, we want to thank our consultants, so Geosyntec and Sitka Technology, that really brought it all together in the web development. So Sitka Technology is contributing to the design and user interface of it, so what it looks like and how it interacts with you when you're on the website. And then Geosyntec is bringing the data sources together that provide the useful statistics in the tool used to inform the public about urban drool and what they can do. So next slide. So I know by now you're all very curious about the tool itself. So we're going to launch a video demo of the tool. It's actually narrated by Aaron Poreski with Geosyntec, who helped to develop the tool, but also put the video together. So it'll provide a brief overview of how the tool works. So if you could go ahead and play. I think we might be having an issue with audio unless you guys can hear it.
Laura, we won't ask you to sing and dance.
Yeah, are you guys not, I'm not hearing anything, right?
We're not hearing anything, no, no.
Okay, all right. Well, we practice it, but this
I know, I was
okay.
gonna say, it worked the other day. It's really great.
So I'll try to narrate. So what you're seeing here is you can actually input your address into the tool, and it's zoomed into the area. It shows the watershed. It shows your neighborhood drainage area, and it shows some view all the facts. There's some facts on the left side of the screen that tells you how much your neighborhood is drooling, what kind of your neighbors have participated in rebate programs, and there's a little tool that was just clicked on that shows the path of your house to the ocean. So it shows, I believe that's Aliso Creek that's, draining to the ocean. And then you can also click on the fact sheet, and it's going to pull up some additional information about your particular neighborhood. It shows the drool trends over time, so you can see how that's changed. I believe it goes back a couple of years. You can see the difference in trends, the seasonal trends. It also tells you how many of your neighbors have participated in rebate programs, and then it also kind of gives you a little graphic of Olympic-sized pools in terms of how much drool is your neighborhood generating. And so that kind of gives you an overview of how the tool works. And I'm sorry that the video didn't work out. That's okay though, on the fly here. And then you can also, so that was the Neighborhood Explorer, but you can also take a look at the Watershed Explorer and explore from a different vantage point from the neighborhood perspective in terms of the watershed perspective. And when you go to the Take Action portion of the website, it'll link you to the different rebate programs that the district has that you can participate in. So it's really meant to sort of inspire folks to kind of understand the specifics about what's happening with urban drool, the amount that's being generated in their area, how many of the residents are really participating in rebate programs, and then linking them to be able to participate, to take action, to do their part to reduce the urban drool. So I inspire you all to, log on to the drool tool, and it'll make much more sense when you actually able to use it. But so you can access the drool tool at drooltool.app, and so we welcome feedback on this tool. It just launched a little bit over a month ago, and so we're beginning to monitor use and seeing if there are any trends with customers participating in water use efficiency programs and urban drool reductions. And we do hope this tool becomes is shown to be successful in reducing urban drool, and that it can be expanded throughout the entire county and possibly beyond. So next step. Next slide. So here is Drew and I's contact information. Please feel free to reach out to us should you have any feedback or want to discuss the tool further. We're happy to talk about this further and would love to have any feedback that you guys have on the tool specifically. So thank you.
Thank you. I think this is fantastic. Not only just the amazingly catchy little name, but I think at so many levels, from an individual customer to be able to log in, begin to see this, begin to get I think a stronger understanding of some of their outdoor usage, and from an educational tool, not to mention, sort of that peer pressure in your neighborhood. So I think this is really fantastic. I think great job, guys. At this time, I will open it up to questions. If anyone has questions or comments, if you'd like to raise your hand, we'll recognize you. And I see Brad McGear. Your hand is raised.
You know what? I must be technologically, I don't know how my hand is raised. I don't even know how to do it.
Brad, right there at the very bottom, if on the right-hand side of your screen, you see a participants list, can you see that? then at the very bottom, there's a little hand. You can see if you click on that again, it'll unhand you. There you go.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're very welcome.
I'm used to Zoom. I'm so used to Zoom. This is new for
I
me.
am too. I am too. I was a little like, but
Yeah.
it's great. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and Brian, your hand is still raised as well. Did you have a question?
I actually do, but I didn't
Okay.
raise my hand. I don't know how to unraise my hand. And I was teasing Brad offline there about put his hand down, but I don't know how to put mine down either.
I saw.
Hey, okay. So I do have a question, but this is kind of a silly question, and I'm sorry to take everyone's time, but they talk about 27 Olympic-sized pools, and I'm wondering, okay, what size pool is that actually? Because usually when people say that, they don't really know what they're talking about. Some pools are deeper, some have an extra 2 lanes. And so I'm just curious, but I'll deal with that offline. I'll send an email and ask for a technical clarification. But anyhow, that's all. That was the only one I had. But I think that's a really cool tool. That's really neat to be able to see that and be able to explain it. I doubt very many people will actually dig in and figure out how to use it and see what's going on. But it's a cool tool for the nerds among us that want to find out what's really happening in our neighborhoods.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Erica,
Yes.
your hand is raised. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I think this tool, it seems like something that may assist. However, I do have some questions or concerns. And some of the questions I have is when you eliminate the water, the runoff water, if you eliminate so much, when there are pollutants in the air, it creates higher concentrations when there's not a rate of enough water running down. So would higher concentrations of toxins and chemicals wind up into the oceans? So that's my question and concern by reducing the amount of runoff that we have. So.
Okay, Laura or Drew, would you like to address that?
Sure, I'll take my best stab. I'll first caveat, we're not, as a water utility, not experts on some of the stormwater issues and that side of it. But my kind of limited understanding is just that helping to keep it on site helps to I mean, obviously you still want to educate the public about applying the appropriate amount of pesticides and making sure that there's not like if there's a storm event or something like that carrying other pollutants in the future. But my understanding is that it just helps to keep because with urban runoff it's often more concentrated than during storm events, and so that helps to some extent with regards to environmental outcomes. But yeah, not an expert on this side of it, but but I'll make sure we get feedback on that and bring it back.
Thank you, Drew. Okay, I do see that I see Paul Wyatt's hand is raised. Paul?
Yes, I was wondering about trying to get this tool in the hands of some of our educational organizations, how we could use that. For example, I'm on the board of the Ocean Institute here in Dana Point, and we're always trying to teach the kids that are there for classes about how they impact the ocean and what they do in their community today from where that water ends up. I was just wondering if there was thought about how we might get a tool like this so we could show them directly where their neighborhood is and where that water ends up and how much water there is. Have we looked into that possibility, or is there a way we could look at that?
Mm-hmm. Paul, I agree with you. I think that, and I think educational usage is one of your key drivers, right, Drew? I think, would you guys like to address that? I know you have a pretty good outreach, and certainly there's a great county-wide outreach that if you guys are collaborating, I'm sure that certainly that could be brought to you. But I don't want to speak for you, Drew.
No. You're absolutely right. So we do some field trips when we could do it in person 6 months ago with the Orange County Coastkeeper, taking local school kids into the watershed, and our plan was to incorporate this into that. But I mean, I would love to talk more with you about how we might collaborate and using this. Some of the Ocean Institute and other organizations to help. I mean, it's all publicly available, so anyone can access it. It's only currently for the water usage data for those in the Molten Miguel service area, which is part of why we're really excited about the opportunities to scale it further. But we'd be more than happy to talk more about how we might incorporate this into any other groups' educational plans.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Drew. Okay, and I see Kay Havens has raised her hand, and then Sandra Jacobs. And if anyone else after that, and Betty Burr. Okay, we have some more. Okay, let me just scroll back up. So Kay?
Yes, true. This is a great app, but so far it's only Molten Miguel. How are you going to roll this out? Are you going to market it to HOAs for a start, or it'd be great to see this throughout the entire watershed. So what's the plan?
Great question. We've shifted a lot of our broader messaging, really focusing on the safety of drinking water, trying to narrow it down, given some of the public confusion with regards to making sure it's clear that like COVID's not in the water supply and things like that. But our intention is once our marketing and outreach gets back to more of a normal kind of pace, to incorporate this into it, and to work with HOAs. We do an annual workshop with the local cities, water utilities, called H2O for HOAs, and we are looking to incorporate it into that as well.
Have a drink.
Thank you.
Have a drink.
Yeah, have some water.
I know, we're all trying to get some water. Does that answer your question, Kay? Yeah, very good. Kay, you're muted, and now Drew's muted too. So does that answer your question, Kay?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Drew. Drew, you take a glass of water there. Okay. Sandra Jacobs, your hand's raised.
Hi, Sandra Jacobs, Santa Margherita Water District. I'll let Drew cough a little bit. Great presentation. Hats off to Molten Miguel for all the hard work that they've done on this, and they continue to do so. And my question kind of stemmed around where Director Havens was going with HOAs. It's one thing to get the normal resident to stop overwatering, which in my neighborhood they pretty much have, but I still see a lot of common area slopes that are still getting overwatered. So that if that area is being irrigated with recycled water, Drew, do you draw a distinction between that runoff from any recycled water use and the ramifications of that running out to the ocean, or just strictly water in general? Thank you.
Great question, and you're absolutely right. Sometimes all the residents are being really efficient, and it's the common areas, and that's one of the areas. One of the benefits we see with this is to help educate the public and find the neighborhoods, and then one of the ways we think that might be really helpful with regards to getting the HOA to take action is educating the residents themselves to bring it up with the homeowners associations, landscapers, and property management. But in regards to your other question on water, yeah, it's all one. It's water, so it's recycled and potable water that's in the tool.
Okay, thank you, guys. Let's see, Betty Burnett, your hand is raised. Betty?
Oh, thank you, Debbie, and certainly enjoyed that presentation. I just was wondering, in terms of the data set and the renewal of the data to keep it updated, what is the frequency that you are able to tie your water use metering data with the county's runoff information? And what process do you use to bring those pieces together?
Great data question, which is a fun one for me. So, right now we're rolling out smart meters from AMI to our customers. We have about 40% of them currently on AMI. So right now the tool is monthly billing data, and so we have like a programming script that'll take the data on our end, aggregate it up, and then send it to a secure cloud site that is provided to bring into the tool once a month. Right now, as you saw on the tool, we're still kind of rolling it out, so it's only through 2019. But I believe in the next week or so, it should be more up to date, and it should be run monthly to update and combine with the county data. But great question.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So if you have, so it's my understanding then if you have the, if you already have all your meters in place, then you can basically get pretty much full coverage. But then so areas where you're still rolling that out, it would be potentially spotty.
Sorry, just to clarify. So right now it's monthly. In the future, we also might be able to update it like once every couple days.
Oh,
So it'll be even more actionable.
Exactly.
So that
Okay.
you don't have to wait a whole month. That's but right now we aren't sending the AMI data yet. But in the future, that was one of the kinds of next steps we saw as the potential benefits.
Absolutely, that's great. Okay. Okay, are there any, I see Megan Schneider's hand is up. Megan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Thank you so much, Drew and Laura, for your presentation. I was just curious how many customers are currently engaging with the tool, and if you have quantified water savings data as a result of that engagement.
Unfortunately, we have not gotten any of that yet, but we are very eagerly looking forward to seeing the engagement metrics on that and looking at participation and everything. So it's been live for about a month, but we'll definitely revisit that question, and as we do, we'll be providing that as well.
Is it available on like the App Store, or how do people download it?
Oh, it's just a website. Yeah, sorry. It has the .app address is like a whole new like .com, or it's like the newly made available. But it's not actually an Android or an Apple app. It's a
Got it.
Mm-hmm. So it's to repeat, that's www.drooltool.app. So, okay. And let's see, I just saw another hand go up. Paul Wyatt?
Paul? I just wanted to comment back on a couple of questions. There was one about whether the runoff in dry season runoff, which is what we're really talking about here, is helpful in that it flushes the creek beds or the stream beds out, and second, whether recycled water would be separated. We're at the end of the creek, not this particular creek you're looking at, but the other ones. So we're running diversion all the time because we can't let that water get into our oceans. So in dry season, we have to divert it into the sewer system so it can be processed, because this is a problem that we have to deal with. And we always like to blame our upstream neighbors for sending the water our way. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to process it here. And so looking to how we reduce it in dry season is critically important. In wet season, it gets dramatically diluted. So the overall impact on the ocean isn't as great. But so runoff period in dry season is a problem. and whether it doesn't matter whether the source came from recycled water or not. So I just think, as we look at how to do this, this is an important tool for us to let people understand the impact of it and start to put this education in place that will take to stop it.
Great comment, Paul. I'm at that other creek. I know. I know. So same thing. Let's see. Are there any other? I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. Great questions, and I think this is. Yeah, I would propose, Drew, that you certainly keep us abreast on, at our meetings as an action item, because it's really. I think this is going to have some fantastic applications as it rolls out. So that's
Happy
great.
to.
Thank you both. Thank you both very much. Okay, and
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mayor Brian Goodall, he raised his hand.
Oh, he raised his hand again. Okay. Okay, is that a mistake this time, Brian, or are you really doing it?
No, I figured out how to put it down and how to raise it again.
Wow, okay, go for it.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Okay, how do you, this is a technical question, how do you actually start or ask a question in chat? I can't seem to get a new chat screen up to ask a question, and it was going back to my other question about the Olympic pools. I was just going to type it out, and I can't figure out how to get in there and do it.
Oh, come on. We just got the hands thing figured out. Now you want to type?
What do you know about Olympic pools?
I got to hang up about that. Yeah.
I'm not quite, honestly, I don't know, but
Okay.
if we can get one of our technical, Maria, could you address that exactly?
It's not that important, really.
Have you ever seen it?
Sorry, Mayor. The questions are only for the public.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so this is certainly just to receive and file, and thank you. That was a great, that was really a great presentation, and we can move on to our next slide. Okay, we have another great presentation. California Water Data Consortium, Open and Transparent Water Data. And our presenters today are Tara Moran and Mike Myatt from California Water Data Consortium. So hopefully they are teed up and hands are all down, hopefully, until we at the end of everything. And I'll remind everyone to be sure that you're on mute so we don't get the background noise for our. Okay, guys, take it away.
Thank you, Debbie. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I don't think I have my video figured out just yet, but I'm going to be pretty quick before I pass it to Tara, and then I'll work on that when we hang out for questions after. First, really just want to thank you for having us here today and your interest in transparent, accessible water data. Really enjoyed the presentation from Molten Nagel. They never disappoint, and I'm counting on you not to ask us to sing or dance either. So I was impressed with Laura's quick overview there. This has really been an exciting last few years in water data. In the last 5 years in particular, I'd say with the passage of the Open and Transparent Water Data Act, AB 1755, the creation and work of the California Data Collaborative that I'm sure many of you, given your location and membership, are familiar with. The Aspen Institute had a dialogue series that led to the creation of a national backbone organization called the Internet of Water. Just within the last couple of years, there was another Water Data Act that was passed in New Mexico that was modeled after the legislation that we passed here. And then in California, quite recently, just in the last week or so, the governor's final water resilience portfolio was released that included data as a top 10 water-related priority for their administration. The collaboration and implementation of AB 1755 by the state has been really impressive. It's a group of agencies that they call their group the partner agency team, and they've been really, I would say, implementing the spirit of the act and not just kind of the minimum requirements of it. And so that's been exciting. And then we have the creation of the California Water Data Consortium, which is, I should have explained who the heck I am to all of you. So I'm a program officer at the Water Foundation. I'm also the chair of the board of this new nonprofit called the California Water Data Consortium. And it was formed really to be supportive of AB 1755 and to be a space for stakeholder and kind of non-state participation and engagement with the implementation of this act. And very excited that we have hired Tara Moran as our new president and CEO. Today is actually, I guess, her first Thursday on the job. This is her first week on the job, but she's not, she might be new to this position, but she's not new to the scene. She's very well respected in water and in water data in particular. So I'm really excited to have her here and pass the baton to her to tell you more about the consortium and the vision for the future. And I'll be here if you guys have questions that kind of go back several years to why we did this. I'll be around, but I'd like to pass it to her.
Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you so much for having us here today to talk about the California Water Data Consortium. We just heard from Mike a little bit about the consortium and how and why it was formed. And I'm excited to share with all of you the consortium, what we're currently doing and our vision for it moving forward. I'm also particularly interested to hear from all of you. And so I'm hoping to leave a little bit of time at the end of the presentation so that Mike and I can hear more about your work and think about how the consortium can support and learn from the data efforts that all of you have undertaken. So thank you very much for having us here today. But as Mike mentioned, the California Water Data Consortium was formed to support implementation of the Open and Transparent Water Data Act. And so that seems like a great place to start. So next slide, please. In 2016, during one of the most severe droughts on record, California passed AB 1755, or the Open and Transparent Water Data Act. Next slide. The most robust open water data legislation in the country. And the bill really served as a call to action for a renewed approach to accessing water data and to build trust, to support planning, improve operations, and facilitate informed water data management decisions throughout the state of California. So I thought I'd just take a minute here to talk a little bit about what AB 1755 requires and how the implications for all of you. So the goals, next slide, the goals of AB 1755 are relatively simple. And they're really to make water and ecological data available through an open access platform to help water managers operate California's water systems more effectively and to help water users make informed decisions. And the way that that actually happens, or that this is done, is by requiring the Department of Water Resources, in consultation with the California Water Quality Monitoring Council, the State Board, and the Department of Fish and Wildlife, to create and maintain a statewide integrated water data platform. And there are a couple of important deadlines that are included in the legislation with respect to actual data availability. And so the first one was September 1st of last year, 2019. And that was to make existing state agency water and ecological data available on the platform, and from there to update it quarterly. We just had another major milestone, which was the beginning of August, just this past August. And that one was to make water data, or water and ecological data related to California water supply and management that's held by several federal agencies. And that includes the Bureau of Reclamation, Fish and Wildlife Service, NOAA, USGS, and others. So we've already passed several significant deadlines with respect to implementation of the legislation. Next slide, please. But I know that one of the areas that all of you were interested in hearing a little bit more about is how the legislation might actually affect agencies like yours. And so in addition to the provisions that I outlined previously, the bill also requires that the Department of Water Resources, in consultation with the three agencies that I mentioned earlier, it requires them to develop protocols for data sharing, documentation, quality control, public access, and promotion of open source platforms and decision support tools related to water data. And that recipients of state funds for research or projects relating to the improvement of water data adhere to those protocols. Now, at present, those protocols have not been fully developed. And this is something that the consortium and partner agencies would love to work with all of you. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the venues that we have to include you in, to engage in AB 1755 and implementation and the development of these protocols. But I do want to make it clear that the main goal with this provision in the legislation is really to ensure that the data and tools that are collected and developed using state funds would not become inaccessible and would not be used to develop purely proprietary tools. So we can talk a little bit more about that later, but there is this sort of open access and ability to access the tools and the data that are developed moving forward. So I've just given you a very broad overview of AB 1755 and its requirements, but we're fortunate to have Mike Myatt here, and I'd like to give him the opportunity to weigh in and see if he wants to add anything, just because Mike was actually involved in drafting of AB 1755. So I'll pause there and see if he has anything to add, and then I'll talk a little bit about the consortium.
Thanks, Tara. I think that's good for now. I want to make sure we reserve time for folks to ask questions they're interested in. I think you did a nice job of giving an overview, and let's keep going.
All right, sounds great. So during implementation of AB, great, thank you, you did advance it. AB 1755, the Governor's Office of Planning and Research convened the Water Data Advisory Council to identify what's needed to achieve this goal of open and transparent water data in California. And the advisory council was comprised of a diverse set of teams. I've listed the members there. I will not read them out, but the point being that it's a very diverse group. And as part of that, the council shared a vision of high quality interoperable data to sustainably manage water in California in the face of climate change and other pressures on the resource. And importantly, they recognized that in order to achieve this goal, there would need to be strong collaboration between public, private, and nonprofit sectors, as was echoed in the composition of the council itself. And so it was with this recommendation in mind that they jointly recommended the creation of the California Water Data Consortium. And they specifically designed it, next slide, please. They specifically designed it to enable broad stakeholder participation, encourage continuous and ongoing dialogue between water users and other members of the public and private sector, to create a shared venue for dialogue and collaborative projects, and to ensure that the state and their use of water data was included in these ongoing dialogues. And importantly, to provide opportunities for individuals and groups like yours to become involved in AB 1755 implementation. And that's either through the steering committee, working groups, or just engaging in the ongoing public meetings associated with that. And I'm going to give a little bit of a walk through the governance structure to give you a little bit more insight into those mechanisms. So next slide, please. Next one again. So the California Water Data Consortium was officially incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit on July 15th of 2019. Has a board of directors that's been formed to oversee the consortium and its activities. Next slide. And its members consist of Water Data Advisory Council members, funding organizations, and water districts. And again, I've listed the board of directors there by name. I won't read them out. But again, it's this very diverse group of highly respected individuals across the water and data sectors. Next slide. In parallel with the work that was being done by the Water Data Advisory Council, a partner agency team made up of 8 state organizations, including Department of Water Resources, State Water Resources Control Board, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, California Water Quality Monitoring Council, the Governor's Office of Planning and Research, California Natural Resources Agency, and the Delta Stewardship Council was developed to support state implementation of AB 1755. And the goal here is that these two groups would ultimately work closely together with the consortium. Can you advance it? With the consortium, can you advance the slide there? Great, thank you. And one more. In collaboration with public sector and private sector and nonprofits and academia and others, and that the consortium would serve as this neutral space for those two entities, those two groups to come together and ultimately facilitate this broader implementation of AB 1755. And so from a practical standpoint, that collaboration will occur via the consortium's steering committee. Next slide. And the consortium or the steering committee will be composed, so next slide. Perfect. Will be composed of both state and non-state agency representatives to ensure ongoing collaboration. State agency representatives will be nominated by the partner agency team. Non-state agency representatives may be nominated, or they may choose to self-nominate. And I'm really pleased to announce that the consortium board recently approved the process and criteria for steering committee selection. And we're going to begin accepting applications and nominations for the steering committee beginning this coming Monday, August 10th. So I'm happy to provide more details on that process or send links for nominations or applications if you're interested. I also want to mention that as the consortium has no regulatory or tax authority, its activities are externally funded. And so I want to thank the generous support, both financial and in-kind contributions that we received from the Water Foundation, the S.D. Bechtel Jr. Foundation, irrigation districts and agricultural water districts in Kern County, as well as two water districts, Molten Miguel Water District and Metropolitan Water District, who have ultimately all contributed because they see the benefits of the consortium, our efforts toward streamlined data reporting and better statewide water resource planning. And so that kind of brings us to this question of what is the consortium currently doing and what do we have planned moving forward? So as I just mentioned, the consortium and partner agency team in the process of selecting and seating our steering committee members. This is a huge step for the consortium as the steering committee will, with approval from the board, set the initial goals and projects for the consortium. So we're really excited to have this process underway. But the other goal that the consortium is committed to working on is to working with reporting entities and state agencies to streamline data reporting. At present, next slide, please. At present, reporting entities spend significant amounts of time reporting data to different state agencies at different times. Those state agencies then have to QA and QC those data and in order before making them publicly available. And this places significant burden on both the reporting and receiving entities, costing them time and money. So for example, in Molten Miguel, they estimate that approximately 1,000 staff hours were required for the development and reporting of the district's urban water management plan. So reducing that reporting burden by even just 10% could result in significant cost savings to the district. Similarly, on the state side, the man hours required to QA, QC reported data is significant. So having templates and controls in place that can provide an initial quality control screen for the data could provide significant savings for those agencies. In addition to that, data are often reported in different formats to different agencies at different frequencies. So creating additional redundancies and making it difficult to integrate data sets between state agencies, but also across regions and sectors. And for agencies and water managers to make data-driven water management decisions at present, as well as to plan for a more resilient water future. So one of our first projects will be really working with reporting entities to understand what data they're reporting and where the redundancies are. We'll in parallel working with the state to understand the format and frequency of data necessary to support management decisions. So doing this will enable us to transition to a more streamlined reporting process for data that are, oh, next slide, please, are reported to one central platform are reported in a standardized format that can then be accessed by decision makers as needed. And doing so will enable a variety of potential outcomes, from providing automated verification reports for reporting entities and summary reports for regulators, to initial quality screens of data and ensuring that there's required metadata associated with uploaded data. But more importantly, having these standardized accessible data formats will provide agencies with, will ensure it lays the foundation to achieve these broader impacts that I talked about earlier on during the presentation. It enables integration of data and information across regions and sectors, but it also enables the development of data analysis tools, visualizations, and models necessary for planning this more resilient water future. And so I really want to hear from all of you, because I know that you have done a lot of work on sort of data integration across regions, as well as the use of data for decision making. But before I open it up for discussion, I want to make it clear that the California Water Data Consortium was developed to provide a venue for groups like you to engage in AB 1755 implementation, and to really have an opportunity to shape your vision of a data-informed water management system in California. So I hope I've made it clear during this presentation that, number one, we just really want you to engage in this process, and that there are several mechanisms for you to do that, whether it's through the steering committee, our working groups, which I did not talk a lot about, but we'll be setting up in the coming months, or through our public events. We have another one coming up in late September. You'll be able to find more details once we have a date set on our website. You can also reach out and subscribe to our emailing list on our website, and I encourage you to do that. And I also have contact information for me there, as well as our website information. So please feel free to reach out to me or Mike or any of our board members if you do have questions. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. This is great. I think that this looks like some real concrete steps that are being taken, around the legislation that I think can be really, really critical. So it sounds like you guys are off to a great start. So we'll open it up now for questions, comments. Do I see hands? Let me look. I see Sandra Jacobs. Sandra, will you unmute yourself?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sandra Jacobs, Margherita Water District. A couple of questions, one for maybe Grant or the county, and one for Tara. Does the SACWMA project submittal website comply right now with the data sharing? Is it in a format that is compatible? That was one part of my question. And then the other, well, is it okay if I give more than one?
Yes.
The second was, in our staff report, it talks about, shaping this data to tackle California's most pressing water challenges. So, Tara, in your mind, or maybe Mike's, what is it that you believe is our most pressing water challenge? And then lastly, maybe to both, it talks about pooling and aligning funds to help California achieve its open water data goals. So are we paying through through AB 1755? How is it funded, and who pays for it? Thank you.
So, Tara, this is Grant Sharp with Orange County Public Works. I'm filling in as executive officer for Amanda Carr. I want to thank Committee Member Jacobs for the question, and also thank you and Mike for just a great presentation and being willing to spend time with us. Committee Member Jacobs, that's a good question about the data management system for the South Orange County IRWM group. It is built on an Esri hub site, and so there's a lot of interoperability with it. But I can't answer. I'd have to defer to Tara and Mike as to whether it meets any standards, if there are in fact standards already set by the Water Data Consortium. But I certainly think it has a lot of good qualities. It is built on an open data platform with interoperability. Well, Tara, I don't know if that helps. I know you probably haven't had a lot of time to explore the data management system we're using, but does that help at all?
That helps quite a bit, Grant. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, let me back up a little bit to answer your question about the AB 1755 protocols. So there are not clear protocols that have been developed at this point in time with respect to data sharing. That is something that will be developed over the course really of the next couple of years. And so part of the governance structure that we're currently in the process of developing is the steering committee, which we're in the process of pulling together, but they will also oversee several user groups, like working groups. One will be a data user group. The other will be a technical working group, and they will be the ones responsible for developing protocols around data sharing and the like. So those protocols still have yet to be developed. And I think that agencies have a really important role to play in terms of sharing what they have learned works for them with respect to data interoperability, data sharing. Can they integrate their data across regions? And all of that will be really useful in informing what those data protocols look like long term. So all of that is a long-winded way of saying there are not currently protocols in place that agencies need to comply with. And then you asked a couple of other questions, and I'll go ahead and answer those. And then Mike, feel free to jump in if you have other questions. And so with respect to your first question around water challenges and what we see those being both currently and long term, I think one of the big challenges and the motivation behind AB 1755 is during the most recent drought, we came to realize that we just did not have the data or information necessary to make well-informed, data-driven planning solutions when it came to, where do we need to cut back in terms of diversions? What types, how are water utilities using data, and how do we make decisions about where conservation needs to occur? Where can we actually implement successful water transfers between agencies? All of those decisions were really hindered by a lack of data and ability to easily access those data to make good decisions. And so that's really the motivation behind all of this. And I think those are sort of the near-term decisions that we're trying to address in terms of implementation of AB 1755 is how do we ensure that we have the data necessary to make good decisions at present? And how do we make sure that we can integrate that across regions such that we're maximizing, efficiency between agencies, and we're working together to ensure that everyone is jointly, coming up with solutions that work for them. Long-term, climate change is going to continue to tax our water system here in California. And so again, I think that this goes back to the point that we are going to need better data moving forward if we're actually going to be able to manage the system efficiently and effectively in the near term, but then also plan for it long term. And then I'll just pause there and see if Mike has anything he wants to add. And then I'll just keep going, and then he can add anything at the end. So
that sounds good. Go for it.
Okay. The final question you asked is, where is funding coming from? So with respect to the California Data Consortium, our funds have come from, I mentioned several different areas, but philanthropic organizations like the Water Foundation that Mike is involved with, as well as the SD Bechtel Jr. Foundation. We've also received several grants from irrigation district and water districts who are supporting our efforts right now. Long-term, we're working to develop a long-term funding model associated with it. And that will likely be that we're actually developing streamlined data processes that agencies see the value in and are willing to contribute to the consortium long-term because they like what we're doing and that is of value to them. And then with respect to state agencies, they have some funding in their budgets to implement AB 1755, and that really provides us with the ability to work closely with the state agencies because they do have some dedicated resources to devote to AB 1755 implementation. And then, Mike, is there anything that you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I might just add a couple things.
Sure.
One, on the protocols, just to remember that clause that we were talking about on the protocol development, the kind of the legislative intent of that was really just to protect against the state providing funding to data projects that would then be used for developing, say, proprietary tools, and then that data gets locked up and made unavailable and inaccessible, which would be kind of, you know, run counter to the whole spirit of what AB 1755 was all about. And that's slightly different from the protocols that the state is working to develop that will squeeze more value out of the data that we're already collecting and make it hopefully make folks like all of you more interested in voluntarily participating in them if you can see the benefits of collecting your data and reporting in a certain way so that it more easily feeds into a federated interoperable system, and then you might see some relief in the amount of work that you need to do in reporting to a lot of different places, as Tara noted in her presentation. So I just wanted to make that clarification. So it's more about voluntarily complying with protocols that are underway than it is kind of being punished for not doing something. And then on the priorities question, I think the biggest challenge is there's so many challenges and many of them are local, and that's kind of the point of the steering committee, is to have a place to bring in experts and folks that are really immersed in implementing and managing water systems and doing research and developing apps and things so that we can understand what are the pressing challenges, what are the things that we should work on together first, and start to unlock that data, because there's so much to be done that without some thinking there, you run the risk of not getting to the most important things first. So we actually would be interested in hearing from you and others on that question through the steering committee process.
Great points. Thanks, Mike.
Well, thank you both. I'm going to, I don't see any hands raised. So, and we are kind of like, I'm watching the time, it's like, yikes. But so I'm going to thank you both so much. And I think this is something I think, at the agency level, definitely anything that can streamline and, if I had a nickel for every time I heard, we keep sending the same data to different agencies and aren't they talking to one another and all of those, kind of complaints. I think that this, holds so much value, I think, as far as time and effort at the local level. And I think that, very quickly, as soon as agencies begin to see how valuable this is, that you'll get a lot of participation. So thank you both so much for participating today, and we will stay tuned. So
thank you. Thank you for including us.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. And we will post the data, and we'll have staff send a reminder for the steering committee. There may be some individuals that are interested in participating. So with that, and this was also a receive and file, so we will move right along to item number 6. which is the Salt and Nutrient Management Plan Review Process Update and Discussion by Amber and Amber Baylor. And Amber, take it away without further ado.
Why, thank you, Chair Neve. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. This is great.
Okay, fantastic. I appreciate that. And wanted to take a moment and to express my appreciation for Beatrice and Grant for starting a pre-session so that we could review all of our slides. As much as we try to integrate all of these meetings into the web, there's always something that happens. So really great effort in that space. My name is Amber Baylor. I'm the Director of Environmental Compliance for the South Orange County Wastewater Authority. Next slide, please. Thank you. And I apologize. I accidentally sent the wrong version of this slide, which references the November 7th, 2019 executive meeting. It's amazing how much the time lapse, the time warp we have been in with COVID. But this slide should actually reference February, the February 2020 executive committee. So I wanted to make sure that the members of the executive committee were aware of the reference. So this is a follow-up to the February 2020 executive committee, and the IRWM staff report actually includes the reference that was made and context. But just to refresh everyone's memories, there was a request by the executive committee to provide us with to provide the board with a letter of the, excuse me, sorry, I'm getting a note to be a little bit more closer to the mic so I'm more clear. So I appreciate that. So to please provide us with a letter of support for the Aqua Salt and Nutrient Management Plan. And I will get into the details a little bit more into the next couple of slides. So next slide, please. So I wanted to provide basically a 100,000-foot view, and especially for new members of the committee who may not kind of understand how all of these pieces are really connected. I know it's taken me a while to understand the connection, so I wanted to provide my best attempt to give the committee members how we are specifically connected. I'm going to first direct the attention to the slide to the left-hand portion. That includes the boundary. So there's the watershed boundary. You see the San Juan boundary that's in purple around this watershed. And then you can also see the jurisdictional boundaries for the water agencies that are in a multitude of colors: purple, blue, City of San Clemente in green. So you can see that there are overlapping watershed boundaries and jurisdictional boundaries. Also in this slide, you should notice that there are red squares. Those are the wastewater treatment facilities, the 9 reclamation facilities who are actually recycling water within our watershed, and it provides context to where they are in the different watershed boundaries. And this is really important because SACWA also manages as the regulator. The regulatory oversight of maintaining with the permits that I'll talk about in just a moment. Then we're going to move into the middle of this presentation, or of this slide, excuse me. And what you see here, all of these different, this is basically a view of all of the different hydrologic sub-areas within the San Juan watershed. So going a little bit more focused view of the actual watershed that is being evaluated through the Salt and Nutrient Management Plan. And just backing up for just a moment, for those who may not be familiar with it, the Salt and Nutrient Management Plans are basically, generally, how we manage salts and nitrates in a watershed for the protection of specifically drinking water uses for the most part. So, and then I'm going to move over to the right-hand side of the slide in that box, and that's really the connection here to this group. So the Department of Water Resources Prop 84 regions This is how the allocation of grant monies were actually articulated through these IRWM groups. And I think that's an important connection as we talk about our roles and responsibilities. So next slide, please. So I'm going to talk specifically about the recycled water compliance. So in 2009, can you actually go back a slide? I think there might be a slide that might be missing. Can you go down a slide, please? Okay, go up one slide, please. Okay, no problem. I'm just gonna include a little comment here. SOCWA member agencies, all of those who are affiliated with all those red dots I referenced in the previous slide, those are all in the recycled water production and distribution. The SOCWA group is really grant coordination and group Prop 84. And then the IRWM plan actually specifically references in Section 13, Appendix 10. And then I'm going to talk about the recycled water policy connection as well. So the recycled water policy of 2018 had a specific mention for the IRWM groups. There was no mandate in the policy, but it did ask us all to be working together as we make these salt and nutrient management plans and coordinate our efforts, essentially. I already spoke about SOCWA as the permitted agency. We're actually the one that's responsible for the permit, the Order 9752, which is the Recycle Water Master Permit. We're also leading the efforts through funding through Santa Margherita and Molten Miguel on the triennial review process, and then overseeing the activities related to the SNMP. And then finally, the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board is the ultimate oversight. They have a water quality control plan. And then there's also implementation of policies, specifically anti-degradation and the recycle water policy. So those are the kind of the articulated roles and responsibilities. So I'm going to move over to what are the actions specifically for SOCWA. So the 2009 recycle water policy was actually put into place on February 3rd, 2009. And SOCWA and all of you who have made significant investments on the use of recycled water have really pushed the boundaries of what it really means. And in fact, the SOCWA SNMP has been a model referenced in one of the presentations at the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board as one of the top templates. And the reason why I mention that is because it has some effect for compliance in the 2018 policy. But I'm going to specifically talk about where we are today. The 2014 SNMP, there was actually some follow-up management actions. The first one was to comply with our Order 9752, which is our recycled water use. So that has volume and quality limitations that we can actually produce from our treatment facilities. And then to actually pursue the basin plan amendment for two of those hydrologic subareas that I talked about, the Middle Trabuco and the Middle San Juan. And then also to improve, this was actually a pretty progressive and really good effort by the member agencies to improve existing monitoring efforts by developing a cooperative watershed-wide agreement and for groundwater and surface water monitoring. So it was really a fantastic monitoring effort that really helped us as we're trying to further, refine what are the actual quality limitations in the various subbasins. And then also to initiate, and SOCWA through the member agencies initiated and funded a 5-year update to evaluate compliance and took iterative actions if needed. Next slide, please. So I'm going to give you so we submitted our 2009 compliance document, the 2014 recycled water policy on time. There are two specific actions that have occurred in the interim. The first one is the 2016 SNMP and State Water Resources Control Board Stakeholder Engagement Resolution. In this resolution, because as I referenced earlier, our submittal, there wasn't a lot of guidance specifically for the regulated entities nor the regional board on whose real role it was and how that we were actually constructing and complying with these things. They're really quite brand new. So they had in this resolution that the regional board shall consider for adoption the submitted SNMPs, and the SACWA SNMP was actually one of those. And then on February 28th, building on what had been occurring and also some engagement with the regional board, we submitted a letter on February 28th, 2018, requesting that there was actual approval of the efforts, the monies that all of our member agencies had invested in for specifically the SNMP monitoring plan to show that we had been taking proactive management actions and that there was an acceptance by the regional board to actually accept our SNMP. We unfortunately, that never came to resolution as far as formal acceptance through the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board. And that was what was referenced in the February 2020 IRWM executive meeting. That's where we were trying to provide a little bit more, provide some information as a body connected as elected officials of what was occurring. So during that process, through the conversations with the regional board, what we found out is that the state water board had been doing basically a roadshow with the regional board and requesting that they move forward with these plans that had been basically submitted to the regional board. And so there was a conversation that was occurring between these documents that were in between the 2009 and the 2018 policy. And what we landed on is that to be able to be, compliant with the 2018 recycled water policy, which we were going to have to be anyways, the regional board had a letter basically stating that there were some things that we submitted in 2014 that we needed to make compliant with the 2018 recycled water policy. I referenced those sections in this slide, specifically 6.2.4.3 through 6.2.4.5. So we had engaged with our member agencies, submitting them a letter of how we were having that conversation. And then what we have settled on is basically an update to our 2014 recycled water plan that we're calling the 2020 SNMP update. Next slide, please. So these are the specific items. We have weekly standing calls with the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board. We had many onboarding sessions with the board through the process as well. We had 3 staff member changes. And so a lot of things got kind of dropped from just a organizational perspective. So we try to keep the engagement as best we can through weekly standing calls. And then we have submitted an outline of how we're actually going to move forward. And this outline, we try to utilize the monies that the SACWA member agencies invested through PC12 and that 5-year update and an expansion of those task items to try as best we could to stay within budget from the previous commitment that the member agencies made. So for example, task 3, we had a meeting that is already completed. We had a meeting with the San Diego board staff. They cannot provide actual written approval of our approach, but we wanted to make sure that we had an ongoing conversation so that nothing is missed. And then where we are currently is evaluating ambient and future water quality. And this is really the power of that proactive response early on, and really credit to you all for actually investing these things that were at the time not regulatory driven in a sense. These were the best way we felt that we could actually accomplish the policy. And we basically use the expanded monitoring data and then couple that with our treatment plant data to try to understand the current and ambient future water quality to move in step with the regional board's request for the for protection of the basins through their water quality plan. And then finally, there'll be an anti-degradation analysis. and then a technical memo. So these are basically subchapters within our within the 2020 SNMP, and the task 4 will be a compilation of these subchapters to be in compliance, and we're hoping to get that by the end of this year, so that because this has been identified as a specific block for the triennial review moving forward. So we wanted to get this accomplished as fast as we can, and we do really appreciate your engagement and support and the request for a potential letter. I think it's keeping within the spirit of the 2018 Recycle Water Policy, which called on a collaborative effort to look at what are the needs in the watershed area and to move forward as a group to support that. So with that, I know that we have about 7 minutes left, and I'll turn it over to Chair Neve to take any questions that the members of the group may have.
Thank you, Amber. And as usual, you're incredibly efficient. Thank you, because I know we're running a little late, and I'm certainly willing to try to move this along. I think I do want to mention that that we do want to put forth that individual agencies, not as our group, not as our executive committee, but that individual agencies propose a letter for submittal to the San Diego Regional Board in support of the 2020 Salt Nutrient Management Plan. So I don't know, Amber, do you have a draft letter for the agencies, or could they contact you to draft a letter if they wanted to bring something to their boards? I think that's the main question that I have. And
yes,
so
we do have a draft letter that's available for anyone who is interested, and you can contact Betty Burnett, our general manager, or you can contact me if you have specific questions related to the technical specifics. I would be happy to go in the weeds if you have them, and but Betty is a good point of contact for any of the officials as well.
I just wanted to make that clear. And so I do see that Betty Burnett has raised her hand. Let's let Betty speak first, please.
My apologies. Just real quick, there is a letter, and we want to thank the county staff. We drafted what we hoped to be relatively short. It is in your agenda package for consideration. And so we're hopeful that, again, the recycled water supply in South County is extremely important to our overall water supply. And we're hopeful with the support of the agencies that receive and use recycled water within their service areas, which is pretty much most of all of South Orange County in one fashion or another. And if you are not using recycled water in your community, then you are benefiting from your neighbor's use of it, because it overall makes more water available to all of us. So we really appreciate your consideration to support our agency at SACWA in working with our regulators to have a acceptable approach to the right level of distribution of water, which we show through this planning effort.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Betty. You're absolutely right. And I apologize. I did not see that, and that I just completely overlooked that letter. So
Chair Neve, this is Grant. I thank you very much, Committee Member Burnett. I just wanted to also reiterate that the draft letter, sample letter, is the very last page of the agenda staff report. So it's page 12 of 12, but it's there, and it's also available through the website.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you very much. And let me just see. I don't see any other hands raised. I know we're very short of time. So with that, thank you so much for the update. I think this is incredibly important. And I think this is certainly something, yes, hands clapped. I see. I see Sandra clapping, and I absolutely agree, because even though we all contribute, either sending our waste there or having it come back to us. So I think is wonderful. With that, Grant, I think we can move very quickly to the executive officer's report.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair Nave. Again, this is Grant Sharp with Orange County Public Works, filling in for our executive officer, Amanda Carr. I know we're very short on time, and I want to be very sensitive and respectful of everyone's time. There's a couple slides here to cover. I can keep this very, very, very short and brief and skim over most of these items. It's really at your discretion, Madam Chair, and the rest of the committee members.
Why don't you just dive right in, and we'll just try to make it as brief as possible.
Okay, thank you. And please feel free to stop me, and we can cut this short as needed. Next slide, please, Beatrice. Okay, first item on the executive officer report. Believe it or not, we're coming up on a 10-year anniversary of the execution of the cooperative agreement. It'll be 10 years ago, December 14th, 2020, that the Orange County Board of Supervisors approved the cooperative agreement on behalf of the county. And so at the next executive committee meeting in November, the plan by staff was to prepare some information detailing some of the accomplishments of this IRWM group over the past 10 years, as well as an overview of the kind of collaborative work that the cooperative agreement has really inspired over these 10 years. So we look forward to working with all of you in doing that in preparation for the November executive committee meeting, which will be November 5th. The next item on the EO report, really this relates back to an item on the discussion on the salt and nutrient management plan at the February 6th, 2020 executive committee meeting. And we made a commitment as staff to this committee to come back to you with some information to you on how these meetings are being managed in terms of the Brown Act. So in response to that, we've examined ways of agendizing items for this committee's consideration in the future so that they both follow the Brown Act and allow for discussion and action at the discretion by this committee. I can tell you we've been coordinating very closely with County Council, and we have committed to making several changes to the agenda development procedures. Those changes include items intended as presentations for committee information will be labeled as presentation, and they will always be noted as receive and file. And I think you saw that with the two information items on today's agenda. Second, staff will engage with all potential presenters to ensure that any potential requested action from the committee is considered, so that if an action will recommend, if the action will be a recommend request, that the item will not be labeled as a presentation or a receive and file item, so as to allow for inclusion of a specific recommended action. Third, staff commits to working with the management committee. If agenda items are requested by that body we will ensure all potential recommended actions are considered and items are labeled appropriately. Fourth, committee members and members of the public will have descriptions of presentations in advance of the meeting. If a committee member would like to request further discussion or presentation at that meeting, or would like to request further discussion or action on an item, staff can be directed to bring the item back at a future meeting, even for receive and file items. The committee would take an action to receive and file the presentation, for example, at the meeting, and then ask the staff add an item for discussion at a subsequent meeting. And lastly, staff will strive to have all presentation slides available at the IRWM website, as well as on the OC Watershed's website within 72 hours of the meeting. If slides are provided to staff after this time, they will be posted and noted. And I think we were able to, I'm happy to report, I think we were able to accomplish that 72 hours prior to this meeting. The agenda staff report was posted a week in advance of this meeting, and the presentation slides were all posted in advance of 72 hours of the meeting. So those are the four commitments you have, Madam Chair, and committee members from staff following the discussion at the February 6th Executive Committee meeting on agenda development procedures. I'll pause right there. Yeah, I'll pause right there to see if there's any questions or comments on that.
I'm just looking. I see Sandra has her hand raised. Sandra Jacobs.
Yes, Sandra Jacobs. Thank you, Grant, for going through that. So yeah, this came out of the February meeting where we had discussed support, trying to support SACWA and that salt and nutrient plan 6 months ago, and we were informed that we couldn't take an action because it wasn't on the agenda that way. So as long as, we still have those options before us, and certainly the chair has the option to give that input as well. I appreciate you taking some steps to modify that. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay. Anything else on that, Grant? I don't see any other hands raised. No other questions. So yes, thank you. That I know that was an issue. So that really streamlines it and clarifies it for us. Any other updates? Oh, the Aliso Creek, then the Watershed, the collaborative group.
A couple quick updates. Unfortunately, with this is the Aliso Creek Watershed Project Collaboration Group. It started almost about a year ago, and we had a lot of good positive momentum going. I think we had met 4 times as a group, and then along comes COVID, and this is a group that really needs to meet in person. And, I think the feedback we got from stakeholders was this was not something that should be continued in a virtual format. So unfortunately, we've had to pump the brakes on that collaboration group temporarily, but there is an alternatives analysis for the lower 6 miles that is currently under development through the county's mitigation program, and so we wanted to let everyone know about that. And there's also a reference guide that came out of that project collaboration group that is, we want so much to share that with everyone, but we really want to wait for an opportunity so that we can review it in person with everyone, and hopefully that will be able to happen soon. Next slide, please. Just some updates on grants. I want to extend congratulations to all the projects that were awarded the almost $2.5 million in Prop 1 IRWM funding. We have 4 projects. So congratulations to the Municipal Water District of Orange County for the South County Irrigation Water Use Efficiency Program, to Pacific Marine Mammal Center for their water treatment recycling system. City of Laguna Beach, congrats. Bluebird Canyon Water Quality Diversion, and Santa Margherita Water District Las Flores Enhanced Water Reliability Project. That was all of those awards were finalized July 7th. So congratulations to everyone. An agreement is expected for that funding in late September. Round 2 of Prop 1 IRWM is expected in 2021. We're looking at approximately potentially $3 million for available for South Orange County Watershed Management Area. The second round of the Prop 1 Stormwater Grant Program call for projects closed on July 2nd. The Orange County Stormwater Resources Plan was updated and provided to the State Board for their consideration in mid-June, and also provided to the SACWMA IRWM group. It is an attachment now, attachment I to the IRWM plan. It had been an attachment, and now this updated stormwater resource plan is attachment I to the 2018 IRWM plan. And then Prop 84, 2015, due to COVID, Department of Water Resources has provided further flexibility. And I believe that grant funding has been extended until June 30th of 2021. So three of our projects have been completed. There are still 3 ongoing, and they have until the end of June 2021 to be reimbursed for their costs. And I think the next slide is the last but not least slide. Water quality improvement plan implementation. A lot of things are still happening with the South County MS4 permittees surrounding implementation of the water quality improvement plan. We're working really closely through the management committee's human waste abatement group, which was convened in March and has met a couple times through that human waste abatement group. There have been 5 area of investigation teams assembled. They have been meeting quite frequently, actually, to assemble their monitoring plans. And I'm happy to report that they're going to begin their sampling work actually next week. And then on the flow ecology special studies side, there were a couple of workshops held in June, both with our technical advisory group and with the stakeholder advisory group later in mid-June. We've gone through the hydrology model calibration with those groups, and now the focus is shifting with those stakeholders onto the selection of focal species for the ecological portion of that analysis. And so I'd say in general, we really appreciate all of the cooperation and collaboration we've had from our IRWM partner agencies on the water quality improvement plan. There have been so many of our partners involved in both of these efforts here. Really, we know on the MS4 side of things that we cannot be successful without the help, support of all of our IRWM partners, and we're extremely, we're being extremely careful, I think, in trying to make sure that as we begin to roll out strategies of this very broad and extensive water quality improvement plan, that we're relying on the expertise and the knowledge of our IRWM partners, and we're taking great care to make sure that any issues and concerns that arise, that we work through those, we talk through those, and so we're really working on keeping those lines of communication open, and we're happy to meet and talk with all of our partners about any of these efforts. I think to try and sum up in a way that makes sense of what we're really attempting or striving to accomplish with the water quality improvement plan. There was a webinar actually today put on by the Southern California Water Coalition, and it was titled "Stormwater Matters: Increasing Water Supplies While Reducing Pollution," and that really, I think, kind of sums up. We have this common interest. We have these 4 IRWM goals, and a lot of the strategies on the WQIP touch all 4 of those goals. but we really have this great, synergy and overlap of interest, because projects that increase water resiliency and water supplies, some of those projects have the net benefit of also reducing stormwater runoff volume and stormwater runoff pollution, both dry weather and wet weather runoff. So we have this great, commonality, and that's really kind of the spirit that we're relying on and leveraging in working with all IRWM partners on this. And then last update is on the roundtable regions. You heard earlier from Mike and Tara, the final water resilience portfolio was released July 28th. And there's also, and again, this is the roundtable. This is through the roundtable of regions, state activities. This is a category covering statewide activities. There's also a water sustainability atlas that's supporting IRWM projects, and DWR has secured funding this year to kickstart the program for all IRWM regions, and we're looking to, Committee Member Jacobs had a good question about whether our IRWM website would integrate with the California Water Data Consortium. Well, this is an opportunity for us to integrate with the roundtable regions and other IRWM groups statewide. We are working on making sure all projects that get uploaded, entered into the Stormwater Resource Plan and the IRWM plan, that they populate this water sustainability atlas so that, the state has a much more comprehensive look at what's going on, not just in the South Orange County IRWM, but statewide. So with that, I believe that concludes the EO report, and I'd be happy to take comments, any questions at your discretion, Chairwoman Neve.
Thank you, and I apologize, and you just like take a breath now, but you cut through that very quickly, and I'm sorry that you're pinched here at the end for time. But if anyone, I will certainly have the patience if anyone like to comment. And I see Sandra does have her hand up. Is that from the last time?
Do I still have it up?
You do. Okay, put it down. Put it down. Okay.
Actually, I'll just save my questions or comments to executive committee member comments.
Okay. Okay. And I just want to say congratulations to all the recipients. And I think that we look forward to the second round of the grant funding, and I know that there are some projects that were postponed, so I know that you guys probably already are up and running already on some of those. So with that,
Chair Neve,
yes,
I apologize if I could just one more brief. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Earlier this week, I think this really highlights the collaborative spirit and nature of this IRWM group. Earlier this week, I had the pleasure of sitting in on the defense of a dissertation by a PhD candidate at the University of California, Irvine. And her name is Genia Niskarodov. I believe she's actually tuned into this meeting. Her dissertation was titled "Evaluating the Role of Public-Private Partnerships in Bolstering Sustainability and Resilience in California's Water Sector, a Comparative Case Analysis." It is no shock to me that she profiled a number of public-private partnerships being pursued or in projects that were carried out by some of our IRWM agencies, among them Santa Margherita Water District, Molten Niguel Water District, and others. And I want to congratulate her on an excellent job with her dissertation. And just note that that's what this IRWM group is all about. And with that, I apologize for taking up more time. Thank you.
No, any time for something like that. That's fantastic. That's wonderful, wonderful to hear. Okay, with that, we will, I know, are there executive committee member comments? I know, Sandra, you were waiting to raise your hand there. So if you'd like to start, go right ahead and I'll look for other hands.
I'll raise my hand here. Thank you,
Okay.
Madam Chair. Sandra Jacobs, Santa Margarita Water District. Thank you, Grant, for going through. And Grant and I spoke on the phone, and I just want to make sure that we're all aware, the the flow ecology study and these studies that are going on. Grant is very well aware, and as are we in the wastewater side of things, that this study, we don't want the end results to point the finger at wastewater districts to a point where it might slow us in any type of recycled water effort or direct potable reuse effort. So, working with Grant and the county and making sure that the data that's presented is data that is, what's the word I used earlier, Grant? It's actual helpful data. A bacteria occurs everywhere, as I told Grant, but bacteria that could be found in some of this runoff might be inactive bacteria, but unless it's labeled that way, everybody kind of freaks out and thinks that it's bad when not all of that bacteria is harmful. And I just want to make sure that, we're not party to MS4 permits as water and wastewater agencies. So while it's important to integrate all of these projects into the integrated regional water management plan, it's not the only project in there. And yes, stormwater is important, but as is groundwater, recycled water, and wastewater. So thank you very much for addressing those items. And yes, I listened to that dissertation as well, and I thought it went very well. Thank you for allowing me to state my case. I will mute again.
Thank you, Sandra. And I absolutely foot stomp those comments. I think that we've come so far with recycling, and I think it's very important that the data is presented completely so that that the public really understands what is being presented. So I'd like to kind of foot stomp those comments. And I see, I see Kay Havens. Yes.
I just want to concur with Sandra Jacobs' comments regarding how the information is relayed to the public. I think it's extremely important. As soon as they hear certain words, they go off a certain direction, and we just want to make sure that our efforts have not been, will be continuing in the future. Thank you very much. Great meeting. Thank you, Debbie.
You're very welcome. Yes, I absolutely concur, especially with outfalls and all of that. Oh my gosh, I know. Let me just look. Scroll. Oh, we have Megan Schneider has also raised her hand.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenny. I just wanted to make a really quick announcement. The Wyland Foundation is having their National Mayor's Challenge this month. And so all cities are eligible to participate. In South County, we've been really fortunate to have both San Clemente and Laguna Beach be winners. And so it would be really neat to have more winners in South Orange County. So please encourage your residents to take the pledge, and that allows you to have entries for the Mayor's Challenge. And the city with the most pledges wins a pocket park in Orange County. So it would be really neat to have more pocket parks demonstrating what California native landscapes look like. So just a quick announcement there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Megan. And yes, I wasn't going to toot Laguna's own horn, but we want to win it again. And we were also the proud recipient of a pocket park, which they're still trying to figure out where to put. But it's a great public outreach. And I think that now that more people are used to Zooming and computering, I think maybe we'll find better ways to reach out and get more people to sign up. So please participate. Great. Thank you for reminding me about that, Megan. And let's see. I think that's about it, guys.
Get Mary Eileen.
I'm sorry, did someone else raise their hands? Oh, maybe not. Okay. Well, thank you.
That was Mary Eileen who wanted.
Oh, Mary Eileen. Okay, Mary Eileen, would you like to speak? Okay. Thank you all for your patience and participation today. This was a great execution, staff. I know we had a little quick dry run earlier in the week, and thank you all, and thank you for your patience. And I'm sorry for the time lapse, overlap, but everyone stay safe, and we will adjourn until November 5th. Bye-bye, everybody.